First and foremost, who am I? My name is Rosanna. I'm a retired teacher and a parent of a student in the public school system. Last year, I started substituting at one of the public school districts in Oklahoma. I substituted at different elementary, middle, and high schools. At the same time, a federal law was passed in Oklahoma forbidding students from engaging with their cell phones during school hours. And I am aware that there are already 35 other states that have passed this bill. The idea behind this law is fantastic and so much needed. However, this law is currently not working because the responsibility of controlling the use of cell phones falls directly on the schools. Yet there's only one teacher in the classroom with an average of 23 students. And an alarming number of these students continue to use their cell phones in the classroom in spite of this law. Each morning while I was subbing at a high school, once the bell rang, one of the principals would talk over the speaker to remind teachers, subs, and students of the no cell phones policy. We were also reminded to send to one of their offices any student who was found using their cell phones, and to also call that office so that the office would be expecting said student. The first issue I encountered with this was that I felt like I became a cell phone police the entire day, while making enemies along the way with many of the students and being challenged by them. The second issue is that some teachers were so frustrated because they were spending most of their teaching hour policing students with cell phones that they ended up looking the other way so that they could actually focus on teaching. Other teachers who completely disagree with the new law also ignored students on their cell phones. Both of these attitudes enabled the continued use of cell phones in the class throughout the school. The third issue is that often no one answered the phones when I called an office to let them know who I was sending. Schools are short on personnel, so some students would ditch class and not return, especially if they realized that no one was at the office when answering the call. So I started pretending like I was talking to someone, even if there was no answer on the other end. Students are so addicted to their phones that they're completely oblivious of what is happening in the class. Their addiction overrides any law in place, and their focus seems to be to watch the teacher or sub waiting for them to get distracted so they can get their phones out. There is no learning taking place. On top of this, many parents simply don't understand or care to understand the gravity nor the consequences of this situation. Many parents are on their students' side, enabling the behavior in their students as well. So how does one fight this monster? What is the solution? I think everyone outside of the school system affected by this proposal needs to be willing to honestly look at and understand the gravity of the situation and what the potential negative educational consequences can be. I also think that the power and control over the use of cell phones needs to fall back on the parents, not the schools. Parents are the ones who own the phones. And anyone who does not agree with what I'm sharing here, I would like to invite you to spend 1 or 2 class periods per day for a week at different schools. This should be a real eye-opener because I'm afraid that you honestly have no idea what the reality of the situation is inside of the classroom. Students come to school for an education. The role of a school is to provide a safe, equitable, inclusive, and focused learning environment. There is no learning taking place when students are on their cell phones. Students need to be able to focus for successful learning to take place. And students have the right to a safe environment that promotes academic focus with minimal distractions. Anyone raising children who have cell phones know very well that their students will engage with their cell phones 15 hours a day straight if left on their own. And I can assure you that none of that time on their cell phones is educational. I'm not here to challenge your beliefs in the use of cell phones. I am here as a prime witness, as a former teacher, as a substitute teacher, and as a parent of a student, of what is happening in the classroom, trying to find a solution that is a win-win for everyone involved. If we don't do something about it, it's going to get worse. Just look at what's happening with your own students at home who are constantly engaged with their cell phones. Nothing else gets done. So don't think for a minute that it's any different at a school. On the contrary, because there's only one teacher to manage 23 bodies. And to have the attitude that that is the school's problem, they need to control students. I will say, how much control do you have at home with your students in their cell phones? It's a real battle, and it's no different at school. These cell phones do not belong to the school. A school responsibility should be focused towards their school's computers, smart boards, and Chromebooks. I know that Apple and Android cell phones have a way for parents to control their students' phone signal. This is done directly from the parent's phone at no additional cost. The beauty of this is that it would put back the control of the phones into the parents' hands and allow schools to do their primary job, to provide a safe and engaging learning environment without distractions or without the added monetary expense on their already very limited budgets. Perhaps the law could be modified to allow students to be engaged with their cell phones during lunch breaks and during free designated periods, allowing students to have some autonomy that would not distract them while in the classroom. The exception would be for students who rely on their cell phones due to health reasons. And if there's an emergency, parents and students can easily communicate with each other even when their students' signal are disabled. There is a way to do this. This would also keep schools' personnel cell phones, the school's computers, and students' Chromebooks from being affected. This is a real issue. It is pervasive and it's not going away unless something radical but fair is done about it. I have created another video showing how to program your cell phone to control students' phone signal during school hours, which includes parents and students being able to communicate with each other during an emergency, even if the cell phone signal is disabled. Until we meet again, my name is Rosanna, and this is something to chew on.